Hello everyone, it's Helen at Journaling Planet, and today I'm going to be starting what I'm going to refer to as my Ekphrastic journal. Now, more on what that is and what it means in just a minute, but for this particular entry, I have chosen this very beautiful vintage image from an old photography guide that one of my photographer friends gave me. I'm having to be extremely careful when I'm dealing with the glue because it's thin paper. So getting a piece of greaseproof paper just down on my work surface to protect the work surface and very gently just going over the back of the image. I was having to be a lot more careful than I usually am. I'm usually extremely, the phrase bull in a china shop comes to mind, but I had to be very careful with this because it would definitely have torn. That's just something to bear in mind when you're using vintage papers. So ekphrasis, for those of you who have not come across this word before, is a Greek word. And in ancient Greece, it referred to describing a thing, some kind of physical object, in very vivid detail. But modern poets and writers have taken this word and used it to create a new form of writing, really, which is ekphrastic writing. And the idea is that you look at an image or a work of art and you use that image as a kind of springboard for writing a piece of poetry or maybe a journal entry or perhaps a piece of creative nonfiction, whatever it is that you would like to write. I got this idea by watching a video by the channel Key Lime Inc. And the video that I watched was Journaling with Magazines. I noticed that they have put another one up about how to illustrate a journal without the need to draw. And again, they go into detail about how they use these images to journal from. And it just made me realize that this was a really great way of using up ephemera that was kind of sitting there that perhaps I didn't have a project for right now, but the images were gorgeous and I sort of wanted to hoard them in some way, but at the same time use them. So that's going to be a really useful purpose of this journal. I'll be able to use up ephemera or images that are just sitting around and have been sitting around for quite some time. And it'll give me an opportunity to actually respond to them rather than just sitting in a drawer somewhere, waiting for me to get to some project or other that I haven't even dreamt up yet. The reason that I selected this image is that on the day that I wrote this journal entry, I went to see the film Lee, which stars Kate Winslet. And I am sure it will have its critics because anything very female-oriented in the world of cinema tends to have more critics than supporters. But I thought it was an extremely poignant, inspiring, moving portrayal of Lee Miller, who was a female photographer in the Second World War, and she took some of the most vivid photographs of the Holocaust victims. She was one of the first people to the scene when they were discovered, and she took a lot of the photographs. If you've seen photographs pertaining to the Holocaust, the odds are that at least one of them will have been taken by Lee Miller. So a very important figure in history. And watching this story play out on the screen, especially with Kate Winslet, who is always such a joy to watch. She's so clever and understated with her performances. It really got me thinking. So I'm now going to read the journal entry in full that I'm now writing out on the screen. And I hope that it resonates with you. It does, of course, relate to the themes of the movie. So if for any reason you don't really want to listen to something about World War II or the Holocaust right now, I would understand that. And by all means, leave the video here. But for those of you who are interested in how it made me reflect on both what she experienced and the nature of the human spirit, stay tuned because I'm going to read now from my journal. Tonight, I went to see the movie Lee at the cinema. I am very much drawn to stories about women who exhibit extraordinary courage, and this was such a tale. On watching Lee Miller's life story play out, I couldn't help but ask myself, if I would have had the tenacity to do what she did. She knew she had a duty to take those photographs, to show the world the true inhumanity of the Holocaust, likely in the hope that the truth was so terrifying it could never repeat itself. My immediate reflex is to be humble and say, I could never be that brave. But I think that might be selling the human spirit short. It's not on the same scale, but I have lived through situations I never thought I could have managed. Seen things I cannot unsee. Smelled smells that will never leave me. And in doing so, I learned something important about the human condition. We tend to think we cannot until the moment arrives when we must. When that day arrives, when a situation simply has to be handled, and it is so dire, and we're the only hero figure close at hand, we do what is needed. And it's not perfect, but we just do whatever we can. Because what other choice is there? Lee Miller volunteered herself into one of the most brutal environments in recorded history. And some might say it was a courageous choice, and I'm not here to argue otherwise. But I think what the film did an excellent job of conveying was that to her, it didn't feel like a choice. One day she woke up, and Hitler was the most powerful man on earth. Once that happened, she knew she had to do whatever she could in the face of unchecked barbarism. So, of course, that just is a first draft that has come out of my pen in response to that image. It's not by any means a perfect piece of writing, but I have got something out of it that might be useful to me if I ever decide to write formally about this film, perhaps in a piece of writing that will be shared with more people on some kind of more polished platform. And that is, I've got this idea of courage and the human spirit out of something quite small, out of a movie. And I often think when we're writing in our journals, or if we're writing about our life, what we're often trying to do is to find that big theme from that small moment or small object that we're writing about. So there's something in that piece of writing for me to take further at a later date. And what's lovely is I've got this lovely piece of ephemera catalogued, used, and I've got a response to it. I hope this has been an interesting video and gives you an idea of how you might use your ephemera and start your own ekphrastic journal. Please do leave some comments down below about whether or not you might give this a go yourself. If you've enjoyed this video or found it useful, I would really appreciate you giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. Maybe you'll even share it with somebody if you like it enough. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.